Harassment methods. Overview of harassment methods used by FBI's COINTELPRO Operation Gladio. Covert community recruits and stay-behind armies, or instruction manual for community gang stalkers. From Chapter 18, Instruction Manual with Harassment Methods for Community Gang Stalkers, Undercover Community-Based Agents. Gang stalking is a covert counterintelligence operation to deprive and isolate the victim for climate control, to stage a synthetic psychological collapse for trafficking or exploitation, to stage a synthetic suicide programming for eugenics, to deprive the victim of any peace and justice for social injustice, forced oppression, also known as slavery. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Welcome back to another show. Welcome back to another episode. Good morning or good afternoon to all of my viewers, listeners, and Soul Tribe family. The name of this program is called It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory. It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory is a nonprofit social service agency suicide prevention campaign servicing the needs of families and foster children at risk. Lending my voice to help raise awareness by soft publishing a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. Lucy's Lair is a graphic novel based on true events following my life as a freelance artist. This program is intended to help encourage, heal, and empower survivors of cancel culture and rape culture, providing free information and evidence regarding child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, electronic harassment, gang stalking, conspiracy, and true organized hate crimes against humanity, collective and covert. Your company can help by providing funds in a grant or by donating goods and services as I continue delivering this information and evidence to the general public and advocating for foster children in need. Thank you in advance for all of your support. On today's episode, I am going to be discussing gang stalking, occult ritual stalking, community harassment with malicious intent, hypersimulation theory, covert psychological operations, plus surviving the New World Order, surviving the New World Disorder per usual, surviving manufactured chaos, surviving manufactured karma, and surviving the electronic targeting Holocaust. My name is Adrienne Alese. I am the author and creator of a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. Lucy's Lair is a book trilogy reflecting my life as a survivor of rape culture, child sex trafficking, and psychological gas chambers. On this program, I advocate for women's rights, basic human rights, and the rights of those disabled. I also advocate on behalf of the foster children in the CPS system, orphans, single mothers, foster mothers, and those less fortunate. Targeted individual or trafficked victims are predominantly women. 65 to 70% of targeted individuals are white American women or those who identify as such. This makes gang stalking an illegal operation or a hate crime that is sexually and politically motivated towards American women and their children. This program is a dedication to the targeted individual community. The objective of the opposition or the counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO 2.0, is to subvert all of the target's potential, to terminate and to punish all supporters and sympathizers, to round down the target's output and audience, to marginalize the target, to eliminate connections and networking ability. Project Monarch programming refers to a conspiracy theory claiming that the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, developed a covert trauma-based mind control program. The conspiracy alleges that this program was an offshoot of the real and now widely known CIA project called MKUltra, which sought to develop techniques for interrogation and mind control. Allegations of Monarch programming. Advocates of the Monarch conspiracy theory claim that it used systemic torture and abuse to intentionally cause extreme trauma to subjects, forcing their minds to disassociate and create alter egos or manipulate multiple personalities. These personas could then be, quote, programmed. According to the theory, these alters could then be, quote, programmed using symbols and specific triggers, also known as anchors, to carry out a range of clandestine operations such as assassination, sex slavery, and intelligence gathering. Appendix 1. Keywords and phrases taken directly from this manual. Appendix 2. Key terms from Rich's, quote, New World War, revolutionary methods for political control. Electronic targeted killing, ETK comment. Note that the terms, definitions, military documents, laws, and patents provided by Rich prove the existence of this operation, described in Kilde's, quote, manual. Appendix 3, European Parliament Resolution on Operation Gladio. Appendix 4, From Total Individual Control, Technology by Omniscience. Appendix 4, From Total Individual Control, Technology by Omniscience. Organized stalking and electronic harassment. The new high-tech generation of COINTELPRO counterintelligence program. In a nutshell, government sources are using directed energy weapons and artificial intelligence to terrorize, threaten, intimidate, discredit, silence, torture, and murder dissidents. In addition, security contractors, amongst others, are being hired as military thugs to gang-stalk targets. Zerzetzen, quote, inflicting as much pain and suffering as possible without leaving any marks, end quote. Directed energy weapon programs revolutionized this. Counter-proliferation programs are intended to subvert the potentials of a target while punishing them with psycho-sadist techniques. The perversions of COINTELPRO are notable. The murderous and sadistic ethos of government counterproliferation programs echoes that of the Nazis, and this perpetrator network of war criminals are committing sickening acts upon the global population. Modern-day COINTELPRO objectives. These are counter-proliferation-centered programs intended to subvert all progress, to discredit the target, to character assassinate, to slander the target, to taint the target's image, to misrepresent the target, to suppress the target's monetary success, to suppress the target's good character qualities or people's awareness of positive aspects of the target, to arrange a partner for the target or mind control the partner of the target. And this is trafficking. This is sexual exploitation. This is being done using porn psyops. To destroy relationships of the target. Interesting thing about this part And just this whole thing in general is how after being released from CPS at about 12 or 13 years old, not immediately following, but approximately a year or so, give or take, after leaving CPS, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, grand mal seizures. My grandmother, Dorothy, shortly after reuniting with my grandmother, Dorothy, she passed away mysteriously of a heart attack or something like it. After I became 18 years old, about 5 years later, and was reunited with my grandmother, Alice, shortly after that, I would say maybe 3 to 6 months after that, my grandmother, Alice, was found dead in the bathroom. Mysterious circumstances there as well. And about 7 or 8 years after that, when I was about 25-ish, and I returned home to my foster mother's home, my foster mother died shortly after that, about 3 or 4 months after being diagnosed with cancer. And very, very shortly after reuniting with her. So very, very mysterious and strange circumstances. All 3 of these women, they are women that would have been able to significantly help me, that cared for me. And they were punished. Systemically, they were murdered. This is my understanding, this is my belief. And not only were they murdered systemically, but it was not only until after being reunited with them and then shortly thereafter after, somehow, some mysterious fast-acting cancer, some car crash, cover-up. That was the case with Jennifer, Geron's baby cousin. And, or something mysterious, something not known, something unknown, something not understood with Alice. And then with Dorothy, the same situation, a heart attack. So we've got suicides, car crashes, fast-acting cancers, and heart disease or heart failure, and then just suspicious, mysterious circumstances with Alice. That's at least 5 right there, right off the top. All of them women, by the way. And then if you include myself, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and it wasn't until after I got out of this program, the CPS program, that I was diagnosed with epilepsy. And this is my theory. It is my theory and my understanding that this is all a result of these programs. So in any case, worth mentioning, to continue to destroy relationships of the target, to co-opt the target's manifestation, to turn the target into controlled opposition in terms of beliefs and actions, to incriminate the target, to round down the target's output and audience, to marginalize the target, to eliminate connections and networking ability, to suppress the target's personality, sanitization of pleasure, emotions, and individuality, to punish the target, to torture the target, to destroy the target's life, to stop a target from procreating, ending a target's bloodline, eugenics. So this is why our firstborn male sons will likely turn out to be gay, homosexual, bisexual, or something of that nature, because there's an entire psyop to end the target's bloodline, or eugenics, or for eugenics. To suicide the target, to covertly assassinate the target, which is what I suspect happened to all 4 of the women I had just previously mentioned: Alice, Dorothy, Jennifer, and Latanya. To cover up the targeting operation, quote, if they see too much power and originality coming out of someone, they either use it and siphon it, or they undermine it in order to neutralize it. COINTELPRO 2.0 methodology, covert remote influencing technology. COINTELPRO 2.0 thought surveillance, neural AI net for psyche profiling. COINTELPRO 2.0 directed energy weapon mind control network for counterproliferation targeting. AI-based retrocausation. Extensive international neural monitoring programs can calculate a target's potentials before the target is aware of them. Gang-stalking and organized stalking, trauma-based mind control for the purpose of trauma-induced amnesia, no-touch torture, character assassination, slander via proxies, technological illusions, psyops and misdirection, electromagnetic mind control aimed at discrediting the target, mind control of people who provide opportunities for the target. An example, mind controlling their death as a form of punishment, of course. Use of family against the target, an example, mind control of family. They will all deny this, and of course they're all sucking on meth pipes. They're all crackheads. They should be homeless. There's a reason why meth and crack are illegal. Use of pharmaceutical drugs against a target to orchestrate the detaining of the target in a psych ward. Voice to skull to get a target diagnosed as a, quote, paranoid schizophrenic. Exaggerated, to say the very least. Warped and untrue slander about the target is proliferated. Technology playing devil's advocate via implanted thoughts to get a target in trouble. Agenda to incriminate the target. Advice for COINTELPRO targets. Stay lawful. Use of ego against a target. Weaponized mind control against a target. Coercing of a target into appearing overly paranoid. An example, an objective of stalking. So the whole purpose of the gang stalking is to simulate a synthetic schizophrenic misdiagnosis. Specific technological control of a target's body language or vocal tone, an example, to generate mistrust. Total individual control. Technology is used as a tactic to take away a citizen's rights through faulty mental illness diagnoses. Outlandish Black Project technology experiences intended to discredit when spoken. Use of electronic control grid to mind control misfortunes for a target. Synthetic social phobias. Synthetic social anxiety, an example, public speaker-related suppression. Suppression of whatever platform the target is talented in. An example, music production, software design, etc. To dehumanize a target via electromagnetic neuroscience. Severe targets are sanitized of pleasure, emotions, and personality. Their coping mechanism becomes drugs. Synthetic suicide programming. Technologically enabling serial killers with a taste for revolutionaries and activists. Electronic targeting holocausts. Quote, while all these traditional tactics have proven fruitful throughout time without wanting effectiveness, the agencies involved in extreme cover-ups prefer another tactic that seems to have withstood the test of time too. That is, labeling someone, quote, paranoid schizophrenic or mentally ill. Once that label has been attached to someone, almost all testimony will be disbelieved. The military has employed this tactic since the 60s to get rebellious soldiers and others locked up in mental institutions. But since the weapons testing of neurological disruptor technology has begun on the general population, beginning in the early 60s and then stepped up to full throttle in 1976, the scope of what is considered mentally ill had to be reprogrammed into a broader definition for the general population, end quote. Department of Defense whistleblower. From the out-of-print book, The Matrix Deciphered. All right, so this part of Appendix 4 is just going to briefly go over some witness testimony. You decipher for yourself whether or not you choose to believe this. I absolutely know for a fact it's real. I've been living it my entire life. I've been a TI, so. Quote, "My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effect, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we've reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I've personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation, for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. Quote, I am also targeted, and this is my story. My name is Sandra Fields. I'm an architect recipient of Who's Who of Women in America Achievement Award and have run a successful business for over 28 years. My life and livelihood have been compromised for at least 11 years by being attacked by electromagnetic radiation torture and by organized stalking. Thousands of Americans are currently suffering from chemical, electromagnetic, psychological, and physical torture with no government relief or laws. Our servicemen, prisoners, and thousands of unknowing innocent civilians are currently being lammed, tormented, and tortured as a result of military research, medical research, pharmaceutical research, physiological and psychological studies that have virtually destroyed participants' sanity, physical well-being, reputation, and privacy, end quote. Quote, what the governments found was that you could induce by changing the pulse frequency, like Morse code, of the microwaves going into the brain and interfering with the brain. By specializing on the pulse frequency, you could induce psychiatric illness to the point where psychiatrists could not tell if it is a genuine psychiatric illness or an induced psychiatric illness. So what you could do theoretically is you could target an individual's brain. They may have auditory hallucinations where they hear things, which is actually quite common with microwaves. Or show signs of schizophrenia, for instance. 6.6 pulses a second can induce severe sexual aggression in men. So that would be the honeypots and yoga pants, sexually harassing, coercing by force of will. They're forced to comply by getting a boner forcefully. And porn psyops, etc. Technically, what you can do is have someone committed to a psychiatric hospital or jail for a crime just by somebody saying that they had a psychiatric problem whereby they didn't. Quote, they can cause insanity, and it is an ongoing experiment. One of the experiments was to take an ordinary sane person, cause insanity, and have a psychiatrist who was unknown to everybody diagnose schizophrenia or paranoia or a psychiatric illness, that was a successful outcome. And the person would spend the rest of their life in an asylum in misery. But to the government scientists, that was a success. End quote. Black Project scientists. Quote, the war against satellite terrorism isn't just the USA. This is a global issue. So in any case, thanks so much for joining me on today's episode of It's a Conspiracy, but It Ain't No Theory. For the record, and to the best of my knowledge, I have been on the CIA's hit list for an electronic targeting homicide and Holocaust officially since October 31st, 2019, Halloween, after the tattoo shop I frequent was broken into and my son's name was tagged on the inside of the tattoo shop window. It is apparent to me that I am the victim of organized crime. After the death of Jerron's baby cousin, Jennifer Alfisa, who was 25 years old, on August 1st, 2021, approximately a week and a half after my cell phone alerted me that hackers were tracking me, I started this channel in fear for my life when I tried to file in court for domestic servitude and was denied access to the law library. My safety is jeopardized. None of this is for attention. I am not crazy, nor do I have a habit of telling lies. So far, I haven't made a single penny doing the Lord's work and speaking the gospel truth here on this program, delivering words of encouragement and true news, not fake news. Generally, I don't make any friends discussing deep-seated underlying political issues such as rape culture. Quite the contrary. I have lost my home, my family, my friends, my career as a model, my reputation, health, and I am forced to flee from this cult of deadly mobsters daily. I have been forced into impoverishment, and even though I am homeless, none of my family, my parents, have not asked me or called to see how I'm doing, not even once. Instead, they prefer to victim blame, to gaslight, and to argue. This is the reason for my crisis. My life should be so much different than it currently is. It should be the exact opposite. I should have been married, a married homeowner with foster children of my own by now, settled into a community and church. I am currently being oppressed as my constitutional rights are being violated daily, and I'm deprived of my right to life. So, if you wouldn't mind, if you appreciate the truth and the work I do here on my program, please like, share, comment, subscribe, tip, or donate today. Every penny helps me to regain my social support, reputation, and independence. I don't smoke or drink, so no money is wasted. Thank you. Social engineering is a crime against humanity. Exploitation of illusory explanations to conceal directed energy crimes. This is social engineering. Cut your shower short to conserve our water. I'm so proud of my conservative efforts. So the fact that I am cutting my shower short conserves energy, water resources. The fact that I walk and I don't drive, same exact situation. I'm doing more for the climate than these so-called environmentalists. Charlie Kirk was shot for expressing himself politically. These are cover stories to conceal directed energy crimes, which is electronic targeted killings, an electronic targeting holocaust. So anyways, those stories that the media sells, it's out for sensationalism. And so all of this conspiracy, organized hate crimes, it's all sensational what do I always say about the truth? 3 main things about the truth. The truth never wavers. You never have to worry about remembering the truth because, like I said, it never wavers, it never changes. And the truth always prevails.